Raindrops streak the taxi window like liquid glass, tracing chaotic patterns down the darkened city streets. Neon flickers, red lanterns, golden hangy lights, reflecting off the slick asphalt, weaving the city into a river of fractured color. Inside, Saraya presses the envelope of crumpled bills to her chest, fingers trembling. Her heart pounds against her ribs in a rhythm almost louder than the taxi's engine. "Please just drive. My mother, she wants me married off. I'm still in school." Her voice cracks, a fragile note caught between fear and defiance. The taxi driver hesitates, hands gripping the wheel, the city's lights casting fleeting shadows across his face. Finally, he nods, a quiet acceptance of a burden not his own. Saraya leans forward, glancing out at the blur of streets, the smell of wet asphalt and sizzling street food mingling in the night air. Each neon sign flashes promises she cannot yet claim: freedom, money, recognition. But none of them hers. If I fail, if I stumble now, what becomes of me? She thinks, each word silent but heavy in her chest. Across town, Kale Jin sits in the private lounge of his family's towering penthouse. Crystal champagne catches the light as he swirls it, watching the bubbles rise and vanish. Today is the day he's expected to meet the parade of perfect matches his grandmother has curated for him. Families in silk handboks, perfectly polished, waiting to secure the next generation. But the thought leaves him hollow. He lifts the glass to his lips, tasting only emptiness. Wealth, power, influence, they fill every corner of his world, yet none of it has ever filled the space inside. The city hums beyond the glass walls, indifferent to the young woman racing toward freedom or the young man suffocating under expectation. A sudden screech of tires cuts through the night. Saraya tumbles from the taxi, bag swinging, the envelope nearly slipping from her hands. The rain clings to her hair, running in rivulets down her neck, soaking the fabric of her shirt. She breathes fast, trying to steady the pulse in her ears. I can't lose this. Not now. Not when everything I've worked for, everything I've dreamed of, is riding on tonight. The air vibrates with unspoken questions. How did a summer that promised sunlight and escape twist into nights of fear and uncertainty? Who will honor her trust when the city seems to take more than it gives? And somewhere across these neon-lit streets, will the world she's running toward collide with the one she never imagined, where power dictates life and secrets hide behind smiles? Her eyes flicker to the shadows along the street, to the faces passing too quickly to read, to the signs that offer promise yet demand caution. Every step she takes toward the unknown hums with tension, a quiet drum beneath the clamor of city life. Tonight, nothing will remain the same. One meeting, one glance, one choice will thread her story through someone else's world, a world of wealth, of legacy, of control. And the city, relentless and luminous, will watch as these two lives brush against each other, fragile and electric, shaping destinies neither yet understands. Saraya grew up where the horizon met the earth in gold and ochre, in a village where every dawn carried the songs of ancestors. The sun draped the soil like a blessing, and evenings hummed with stories passed from mother to child, tales of resilience whispered under the weight of stars. Her father had vanished when she was barely old enough to understand absence. Her mother, weathered by hardship, carved life into strict rhythms, tradition over desire, duty over whim. Marriage was not a choice. It was an expectation written into the very lines of her childhood. From a young age, Saraya learned that independence was a fragile thing. A dream could shatter in the quietest moment. A misstep, a disapproving glance, a door closed too soon. Yet the city called to her, a pulse of light and possibility, a world beyond the horizon of dust and hearth. If I leave, will I be free? She wondered. And if I stay, what becomes of me? Half a world away, Kale Jin lived inside a different kind of prison. The Gu Corporation's name carried weight heavier than any crown. Every gesture, every choice, every smile was catalogued, measured against a ledger of expectation. Love, he wondered in the solitude of his glassed-in apartment. What is it when every bond, every touch, every promise is calculated? Can he even recognize the pulse of something genuine when the air is so thick with obligation? Saraya's days were measured in simplicity. School books, tending the small shop, sweeping the floor, catching glimpses of Seoul in magazines and television, stitching together a map of possibility in her mind. Her nights were quiet, save for the whispers of a future she might carve for herself. Kale's days were orchestrated with precision. Board meetings where words were currency, charity galas where every handshake carried unspoken debts, and the ceaseless scrutiny of elders who reminded him at every turn of legacy, heirs, and alliances. And yet, beneath the surface of their lives, wounds lay silent but deep. Saraya's fear of losing autonomy gnawed at her courage. Kale's fear of failing his family shackled his heart. In different hemispheres, in contrasting worlds of dust and glass, both longed for a single truth. Connection without calculation, authenticity without compromise, a space where they could simply breathe and be. Even before the city lights drew them together, the pulse of their desires beat in tandem across oceans, an unspoken rhythm, waiting to collide. Saraya slips into the city as dusk drapes itself over the skyline. Her mother's words cling to her like shadows. Marry Rizzo or you're nothing. Every step through crowded streets is a defiance, a whispered rebellion. Each heartbeat is a gamble. She doesn't need a husband. She needs a lifeline, a way to earn her own future without surrendering her will. I can't fail. I won't let my dreams be sold to the highest bidder, she reminds herself, clutching the few bills she's managed to carry. Across town, Kalejin moves through the gala with a practiced smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Generations of expectation press on him heavier than the silk jacket draped over his shoulders. One family after another, each girl carefully selected by his grandmother, each conversation rehearsed and shallow. The wealth, the prestige, the polished smiles, they mean nothing tonight. All he wants is to vanish, to escape the cage gilded with privilege. Why does it feel like every step I take is measured against a life I didn't choose? Fate threads its quiet hand between them. Saraya is offered work at an exclusive lounge, a way to earn what she needs, a path unplanned but necessary. Kale, restless and irritated, happens to arrive moments later, a glass of champagne in hand, scanning the crowd with the weight of boredom and duty. Their eyes meet briefly. Almost by accident, the world around them hums indifferent, a city that neither pauses nor judges. Yet in that single glance, a current passes, a recognition neither can name. Why does a stranger's eyes unsettle me more than any boardroom confrontation ever could? Kale wonders. And in Saraya's chest, a pulse of something foreign stirs. Fear, defiance, and an inexplicable tug toward a world she isn't supposed to belong to. The night holds them in fragile orbit, two lives edging closer without knowing it, the first chapter of a collision neither could have anticipated. The gala pulses with polished music and quiet laughter, but Saraya moves through it like a shadow with purpose. Glasses balance in her hands, her fingers steady, though her chest beats a frantic rhythm beneath the surface. Every smile she offers is measured, every nod is a shield. She is invisible, yet entirely present, aware that one misstep could unravel everything she's fought to hold on to. Kale, perched at the edge of the grand hall, notices her almost immediately. Not the other women, not the rehearsed smiles, not the carefully curated elegance. All of that fades in comparison to the tension coiled in her posture. The subtle defiance, the quiet fire in her eyes, it arrests him. His usual control feels brittle under the gravity of her presence. A tray wobbles. A glass of champagne shatters against the marble floor. Saraya reacts instantly, her hands steady as she gathers the mess, a fleeting touch of Kale's hand brushing hers in apology or perhaps by chance. The contact is so brief, so fleeting, it could be dismissed. But neither can. A spark ignites in that silence, a pulse that whispers of curiosity, of recognition, of something neither wants to name yet. Why am I drawn to her? Kale thinks, glass frozen midair. She's nothing like the others, no pretense, no agenda, just fire. His pulse quickens at the realization that he has no script, no preparation, no way to control the force that is Saraya. Across the room, Saraya swallows a rising tide of nerves, her hands trembling ever so slightly. Why does his presence make me so wary? She wonders, stealing glances beneath the rim of her high ponytail. I shouldn't care about a corporate air, yet something in him is dangerous but captivating. Their worlds collide not in a dream, but in chaos. A misunderstanding escalates, words misheard, intentions misjudged. Saraya's autonomy is challenged, her choices questioned. Sparks flare, not of romance yet, but of tension so electric it threatens to rewrite the path each of them thought they were on. Every glance, every subtle motion, every unspoken thought becomes a silent reckoning. In a city that demands control, for once, neither of them can dictate the rhythm. And in that moment, the night itself seems to pulse with the promise of change. Through the nights that follow, Saraya navigates the city like a shadow between neon and rain. Every footstep carries the weight of her mother's threats, the sting of poverty, and the fragile hope that she can earn her freedom. Each tip, each hurried delivery at the lounge is a rebellion, a silent vow. I will not be sold. I will not bend. Kale traces fragments of the past night with mounting urgency. The memory of Saraya's confusion, the chaos, the blame, it had felt like hers to bear. But the truth emerges piece by piece. She had been drugged by another, her innocence caught in the wrong current. Anger twists inside him, guilt gnawing at his chest. How could my world intersect hers so violently? He thinks, the champagne and gala far behind him, replaced by the raw responsibility of knowing the damage that was done. As they cross paths again, hesitation gives way to fragile trust. Kale offers protection, discreet and careful, yet Saraya resists. Independence is her shield. Accepting help is a surrender she is not ready to give. And yet, in stolen glances and fleeting gestures, something deepens, a silent recognition of shared vulnerability. A scarf left behind on a cold balcony, a walk under the glow of neon rain-soaked streets, a lullaby from her village, drifting faintly from a distant bar, echoing in her memory. Threads of culture and identity wind around them, unspoken and binding. Every moment is electric with possibility, a tension neither fully understands but cannot ignore. Then the turning point, coercion becomes immediate. Her mother's threats pierce sharper than any blade. Marry Rizzo, abort the child, or lose everything. The city feels smaller, suffocating, a labyrinth of choices she refuses to make. Saraya stands on the precipice of surrender, her internal voice trembling yet defiant. If I give up now, I lose more than freedom. I lose myself. Kale confronts not only the weight of his family's influence, but the assumptions he has carried since birth. He sees that no boardroom, no fortune, no alliance can protect her the way his courage can. If I fail her, I fail everything worth living for, he realizes, every calculated plan of life now meaningless against the stakes of her safety and the life she carries. Resolution begins quietly, like dawn spreading across the skyline. Surveillance footage, testimonies, and truths emerge. Saraya was never at fault. Kale steps in decisively, dismantling the threats, confronting power and expectation alike. His presence, unwavering, ensures her choices are honored. Saraya, finally, chooses her path, motherhood, independence, cautious trust, and the space to breathe freely. Kale learns humility, empathy, and the rare sweetness of love untethered from legacy. In their shared moments, they discover that connection can survive fear, that courage can rewrite expectation, and that identity cannot be bought or dictated. The city awakens around them as a sun rises, casting amber warmth across rooftops while neon reflections still linger in puddles. Seoul and Africa seem to converge in the glow, a symbolic horizon of beginnings. They stand together, altered, unbroken, a new chapter quietly unfolding. In a world of expectations and power, the heart still seeks its own rhythm. What happens when love refuses to follow the rules? When identity and courage collide across continents, what can survive and what must change? For Saraya and Kale, the answer was neither simple nor perfect. It was real. How do we protect our dreams while honoring those we love? How far will we go for connection?